Welcome to the One-Shot Wonderarium. I am your host, Tony, doing tech a little bit by myself. Blood is under the weather today, so you may see a couple of small technical difficulties, but you know what? We're going to rock through it, so chat, let us know if you're hearing anything wrong. We're watching that just in case, because I'm flying a little solo today. Not quite solo. It's been a chaotic morning. We had a different show planned for y'all today. But that sort of fell through at the last minute, and I happened to be just chatting up with Raven, and I said, hey, Raven, you want to play a new game? And Raven said, hell yeah. So here we are, ready to play some Hunter Hunted by Dylan Appelian and Megan Cross. This is a really cool two-player game about pursuit, the monstrous side of humanity, and the human side of us all. And so it's really, really cool. It's got some fun mechanics in it. We've decided that today's stream is going to be sci-fi themed. That's the theme we're going with. We will actually build the world sort of together on stream, decide who is the hunter and who is the hunted. The hunter, of course, will be the pursuer. The hunted will be the monster who is being pursued. Then we're going to answer a couple of quick questions about each of us, and we'll start going. We'll start talking through a scene. As we do, we each have 2d6. I actually have a pile of them. I'm just going to rotate through them, and we'll roll 2d6 as we go. And we keep rolling these 2d6 until we get doubles. It is a race. So I'm using my dice tower here because I think it's got some fun. There we go. I got 2 3s now. So if Raven had been rolling at the same time, I would then draw. Sometimes the fastest isn't the best. Okay, Raven? All right? Jesus. All right? But right, and if it does get one-sided, I will move away from the dice tower and try to bring this narrative back under control. But I think this is more fun, so I'm doing it this way because I want to. Then the person who gets the upper hand in that scenario, and gets to narrate the next bit or begin the narration of the next bit based on a card that they draw. We have decks of cards, as you can see in front of us, that have been split into red and black cards. I forget which set of cards is which. Raven. Okay, red is on the right, black is on the left. You can see there's a coin here. That is for us to... We're indecisive, so that is for us to decide who is the hunter and who is the hunted. And then there is a token in the middle. When someone grabs the upper hand, it moves towards them, I believe, is the way we're going to decide it. It moves towards them. When it gets off the end, right, that ends the hunt in that person's favor, in that person's prompt. They have control over how this ends. So that is how the game generally goes. How are you feeling, Raven? I'm very excited about it. Let's start off this. You are a longtime staple of the Roll for Respawn channel. Well, I'm shortening channel to Chan now. The Respawn Chan. The Chan fam. And welcome, Chan fam. But tell us about yourself real quick here, in case we've got some folks who have never seen any of the three of the... This is the only show that you're not regularly on, so if they've seen nothing else on our channel... that's technically true. What's funny is we've started to find that I actually enjoy horror a lot more than what people think and what I have thought. Our last big game was Weird West, Deadlands. I was the GM, and it turns out I really am quite good at horror, according to my players. And you can tell that your players think you're good at horror when they go, "Oh God, no, Jesus, no." But important factor, but do not do so in a safety method, right? If anyone had thrown an X card, that either means I messed up or I'm bad at horror. But because they didn't, it was... Yes. Yeah. Yeah, which is very, very important and a line people do not always respect. So, we got to just make sure of that. Cool. What else? Anything else we want to touch base on before... I guess if you're new to Roll for Respawn, if you like what you see, go ahead and give us a subscription, or like a follow, and go ahead and check out our Linktree, which is where we have a bunch of different folks who stream all over the place. We have a bunch of different shows. We have different social medias. We have a Patreon where you can, for a very small amount, like $1 a month, you can get access to a bunch of extra content. That I know I'm creating stuff for that. We do. We have a show that Raven is actually going to be running for us, a game show that's going to be really, really fun. And we have Tony versus the Weeb World as well. So all of those amazing things. And we have a third show in production, but not enough that I can really promo it yet. So, yeah. in production. It spoilers. I'm on it. Uh, there you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's enough talk about stuff that aren't this game. Let's go ahead and get into Hunter Hunted. So let's talk first. I think before we decide who the monster and who the hunter are, let's talk about the world. We want this to be sci-fi. Do we have a preference on what style sci-fi? Right? We could be like more of, yeah. Okay. I wondered if you were going to go there. Interesting. So I think it's kind of interesting for this to be space frontiery, a little bit, and maybe not right. Like I've never seen those movies because I don't terribly like jump scares, really. And horror movies in space tend to be a lot of jump scares. Horror movies in general tend to be a lot of jump scares, and it's just not worth my sanity. So. I've not seen those, so forgive me if this is something, but like you have, there is a lot of like, there is a reason why these monsters are hunted, right? And folks have to know about the monsters before the hunters create or are created. So if this is an alien style world, it's like movies 2 or 3 when you introduce Predator or something, right? Or I assume Predator was meant to hunt aliens. I assume that's the whole point of it. Maybe not. I don't know. Oh, is it? Yeah. Oh well. Okay. So we can sort of play around with some of those details a little bit. But it could be something of like, hey, we're setting up mining colonies and mining outposts have reported like things, so we've got to send in a hunter. Right? It could be variations on that where like we're in unexplored territory. Yeah. Terraforming, I would love the idea of terraforming. To be fully revealed back, there is a lot we can do narratively with like capitalism and eminent domain and all of the like imperialism aspects of terraforming. Yes, I really like that. Sorry, we were talking beforehand about one of the sort of memes that keeps going around on TikTok on if that where it's the daughter from Hank Hill or from King of the Hill that's I don't believe they is trans in the mice, but if they was trans in the mice, and my first thought was if they was trans in the planets. So this may have a weird tone to it because I've got that stuck in my brain. But here we are. Uh, so I think terraforming is a really cool opportunity with this. So the hunt takes place. Do we think on an actively being terraformed planet, or is this pre-terraform, or maybe post? I'd like. In process. Okay. That's so the planet is actively changing underneath those who maybe used to inhabit it. Um at what time period? Since this is sci-fi, I think we already chose that it's future, right? Um so we can open the game. Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna set this in 12 BC. Before Cristobal. Cristobal is 1946. No, but yes, it is. It is always delightful to see the distant future and a time that is now past. So every single time, um, maybe there are flying cars here, but I don't know. Do we think that this is like beginning of the hunt, middle, like are we ongoing? Is this a long term hunt? Okay. So there is blood on the hands of the hunter, as well as maybe the hunted at this point, right? Like nobody is truly clean here. Um, and I'll hold off on this question because it says, "What are your emotional states at the start of the hunt?" I think that makes us pick. Yeah. And then what about you is both not what it seems. So I think the rest of the questions now dictate that we gotta choose hunter hunted. You want to flip that coin for us, and then I'll pick a side, and yeah, tails because humans used to have tails. Um, I will say I stole some version of that from Raven, um, but it's fine. And it is tails. So that means I get to pick what I want. Um, I the monster aspect is so juicy here. I can't. I gotta. Um, so that means you're the hunter. So, let's now go into. We're gonna skip those last two questions, because I think it's sort of in situ style question, right? Like it's something that is a little bit easier when we've established who each of our beings are. So, because like the second question there is, what about you both is not what it seems. We don't know what we seem like yet. So that's really a little bit hard to answer. So, you are a mighty hunter. Who are you? And what do you look like and those things? So, um, let's start with like, who do you think this person? I assume it's a person. Would be. Yeah. Um. So I that begs the question. if you know what you're doing, how many times have you done this before? Okay. Interesting. So, what is our next question? I was looking something else up in the background. What I think we touched on this a little bit, but actually let's touch on the my being really quick on who I am playing. So I obviously I'm going to be an alien here, a being that is native to this world. At least was native when humanity arrived to it and started trying to take it over. And I am trying to think of what that might be called. What those beings might be called. I do have a name generator that I'm sort of cycling through, looking for something that spikes my interest a little bit and sort of perusing the thoughts. So I want something that is sort of sounds in our language aggressive. Well, then I'd you know what? I like I am thinking of the way that these planets are coming to the terraforming, right? And I think that they were named due to their actions and due to the interactions, right? This is the human name for them. This is not their own name. And so I think they've just started being called the Terranaut. Naught. Terranaut. Is that a thing? Is that a thing somewhere else? Astronaut, Terranaut. That's pretty great. There is there are some small references to Terranauts other places that with sci-fi terms you're going to end up with that. So, but this is what we're going to call them for now. I think I don't want to overthink it too much. Because as this terraforming starts, I think these beings fight against it. I think they destroy the machinery. I think they, get involved in some of this, right? They prevent their planet from being turned inhospitable to them, wherever possible. And I think that's kind of fun, kind of cool. Fighting for your life is not fun. But we have so the Terranaut, and I think the Terranaut is a creature that does not like we have a tendency to make monsters bipedal and furry, right? Right, we got like your classic Bigfoot or things like that. And I think that I want to go different on this. I'm trying to the idea of a slug comes into mind, but I'm trying to get. I think there is a goopiness to this creature. I think there is a harder shell, and I think it is something that from outside examining, right? We sent probes to these planets before we tried to terraform them. There were big rock formations that were actually terranauts. So I think you have this outer carapace or shell that looks rocky, but is not. I want to describe it like a gooey mole person with a large carapace on its back. I think that's kind of interesting. Of there is obviously some tunneling and some eating of the rocks and things like that, right? I think it scours the ground, much sea creatures do, digging through the earth for the things that they eat. So a lot of its time as it's sitting is slowly moving, but it has the ability to quickly move. So, okay. I have made this place my home because it was always my home. We are a very stationary species. We have not developed space travel, so this is the only place I know, and I choose to stay because it is my home. So what is driving you to pursue me? And were you hired or charged by someone else? We kind of answered this a little bit, but I want to get back to those questions. I did a lot of monologuing there. Okay. So your job is literally to go and just wipe things out. Okay. Specifically for inhuman creatures. Okay. Um so you carry with you a signature weapon. What is your signature weapon? Compact auto rifle. Break that down for me. Okay. What about it is more than it seems? Okay. Is it a slug thrower? Is it a momentum based machine? Okay. Interesting. Um yeah, I meant kinetic, but yeah. I said momentum, which is close, but not quite. Um they are. Yeah. Yeah. We do. Uh One of us has a lot more experience with it than the other, but yeah. You have heard the stories people told about you, or you've heard the stories told about you. I think while we don't have interstellar travel, we do have broadcasts, and so I think we have picked up the chatter that is being said about our people. Because while we can't move, we do communicate. And there is this like interwebbed community as we have been hearing the plights of those before us. And we have realized, what do people say about us? They say that we are planet devourers. That our entire goal is we show up when the terraforming starts. And that our entire goal is to eat and destroy the universe as we go. That we are savage, and we are only driven by hunger. These stories are somewhat true in that we do survive off of the land, and we do look like rocks and forage through the dirt and the earth, turning it up as we go. But we do not destroy it. Right? We reuse it and we repurpose as much as possible. We have to live with it because we cannot leave this rock. If we destroy this rock, we are done. So, you have heard stories of the monster you hunt. What do you know about your quarry? Yeah. Okay. I do think they're big. I think they are big. I don't know that they're 30 foot tall. Do you? I would say Volkswagen Beetle. I think that's a good sort of middling range where it's giant compared to a person, but not kaiju, right? Like we're not talking. A little bit. I don't know that the bison is quite right. But I would say bigger than a bison, closer to maybe like an elk with horns, right? Or with antlers, right? Like very big. But not and so much wider, right? Or maybe like yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe a small elephant or a medium-sized elephant is probably an all right comparison here. I am, yeah. I suck at specific zoology. I know some, but I don't know the heights of every elephant species. Nope. So I've been hunted before. But no. Do, yes. Ooh. Wait. Do you like that idea? I. How about this? We are a hive mind. Right? I've talked about our broadcasting. We connect to our siblings on other planets. But each planet is its own hive mind. A little bit, unknowingly, like we did not mean to. But yes, it is going a little bit that direction, um, and so that's kind of interesting. I'll scratch the transportation faster than light travel idea that I. Yeah, I think I think there is not quite. Not quite. Uh, that's an interesting thought perspective, but I put myself in the idea of a hive mind, and much like it's hard for us to imagine ourselves being a hive mind, it's hard for hive-minded creatures imagining individuality as much. So you are a representative of a whole in their mind. You are not you. And it is hard to tell you apart from the other beings who look like you, just like it is hard to tell each one of these Terranauts apart. And we might come up with a specific term for the individual as opposed to the hive mind. But I'm just going to say hive versus Terranaut itself. So, but here's the thing: you have heard stories of the monster you hunt. Do you believe everything you've heard about it? We did not actually touch on that, did we? And then my question for me, you have been hunted before. How did you survive? And I don't think I have been hunted. I think that is that hive has been hunted. Slash, there are other hunters who have been sent here. I don't think you are the first. So it's the combo of like others have come. They were repelled. There is the easiest way is through kinetics, right? Like we are a shielded creatures, and so literally like rolling, right? Like not quite roly poly esque, but like toppling over, using the mass is one way that we have dispelled invaders. True. The other thing is, I believe that the Terranauts can, like sharks have their ampullae of Lorenzini. They can feel electrical impulses, except it's not electrical impulses. They So there's a thing in physics where if you have a current through a wire and you move a magnet, like it creates a magnetic field. So that electricity moving through metal creates a magnetic field. Inversely, if you wave a magnet around an inert piece of metal, it creates a current, which then technically does create a secondary, smaller inverse magnetic field. So things like that, yes. So what ends up happening here is I think there is something, maybe it is a magnetism in these beings that actually, as they move around, detects ore in the world and can be used because humanity likes to use metal in all of its technology creations and weapons, is also a sensing mechanism. And I think that they find large collections of ore, and it happens to be terraforming equipment. Yes. Bingo. Well, then large ore deposits don't move is the easy answer. Right? Like bits in a machinery, yeah, they do. And so I think that's really, really cool to like, there is also, there are alloys in your machinery that are not natively here. I want to make them scarier, and you've just handed me the weapon to do it with. That component is used in the oxygen scrubbers. It's I don't know that it's carbon, but it's something like that, right? Like it is something that is only used to purify the air because humans are carbon-based life forms. Maybe that could be. It's not solid carbon, like. Yeah, yeah. So we could say it's carbon. I don't know that we have to get that granular. And we can evolve the story as we go. So I want to leave it a little more vague to give ourselves room for prompts later. So I think there are times, yeah, when these stations are set up and people suffocate inside because the Terranauts have come and eaten part of their equipment. And you get people who come back from a long day's, trying to terraform and trying to adventure and trying to clear this place out to an inhospitable home. And their last call is as they're running out of breath. Right? As they put out a radio call of like, they know they're done. Yes. Well, and that's part of why when I chose it, I said, I think I want these to be scarier because something that goes straight for a life support component is seen as vicious to humanity usually. So I love that. Yes, they didn't go for weapons. They didn't go for defenses. They didn't go for people. They went for the kill shot. So, whew. Let's go ahead and finally get going in this game. I think we've got a really good idea of these like slimy mole people with giant like rocky backs, right? And your beings as well. Your person as well. Does your person have a name, by the way, and pronouns? You said she, so I assume she, but Kara? Okay, let me know if that changes. If you think of the name, the better name, let me know and we'll adjust. But gotcha. Okay, we'll figure that out. Um. So, excuse me. Let's start with where are we at in the hunt? You have landed. This is our first interaction, right? Like formally. Are Is it accidental or intentional? Do we think? No, no, no. So our first encounter, is it because you set up a trap or were actively pursuing, or was it something happenstance? Okay. So I think and I think you feel the ground start to sort of vibrate as a Terranaut is digging through the earth, filling it back in, or through the ground, filling it back in as they go. And like there is, I think, a question of where it will actually come up. But I think one of the things you probably first did, if I may assume, is put down some seismic sensors. So I think you are in this, exploring this space when a seismic sensor, semi far off, pings. Okay. And I'm sort of imagining the shaking getting heavier and heavier as you set up. We get this shot of you setting up on a rock and like a layer of dust on it starting to vibrate and shift off like a dune being blown over by the winds. So let's go ahead and roll some prompts. Or roll for this. Are you ready? 3, 2. Well, and I dropped. Oh god. All right, we're just going. Um, that's oh wow. These dice are not going to be help. Did you get it? Okay. Ah, I got 3 different 6-in-1 pairings. Um, I also forgot, and I was going to go double check this. Um, let me really quick. So black is hunter. And this is me. As you can see, by the way, we have on screen our little token representative and our cards, so that we can actually draw. Raven has drawn their own card here. I can't see it at the moment, but I I would the full force of their powers is the line that really like the statement that gets here, because it really is talking about the strength and the wildness of this creature, of this Terranaut. And I think you I think if you're okay with that, I think it comes up from underneath you. Yeah. Which, by the way, we got to move this token towards you. But it changes. It changes how, right? So, how did you underestimate this power, and how has it changed the stakes of your hunt? I think, as you as it comes up, I think there is a moment where, this being, like, wow. Okay. And I think, one of the interesting bits of this is that you hear a broadcast in your mind, and there are no words in it. It is pain. You don't feel pain, but you understand pain. So I think that's sort of the combo there. How would hearing something like that in the hunter's mind, in Kara's mind, how would that change her perception? Okay. And I want to make sure that my messaging to you was clear in that, like, this was not a, like, you feel pain. This is like a yes. Yeah. So okay, cool. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that that was an intentional choice on your part and not a miscommunication on my part. Because that's cool. Okay. So, and I think there is a sort of, starting to, batten down the hatches, moment, and, as we start to, you know, I say we as the creatures here, we start to, dig away, because there is almost, a confusion, that is broadcast as well, as the dig starts to happen, and I think you see it reach out and swipe the rock that you were sitting on. And as you scratch away the rocky surface, you see that it is actually a large chunk of ore. But I think it has, found hostility and is turning to tail. Ooh, that's a good question. I think that this is a roll moment. I think this is a roll moment to tell us more about what's going on here. So we're trying to. I got 4s. Ha sucker. Okay, and we're just gonna shuffle these. Make sure these are fully shuffled. We did this before stream, but I am paranoid, so I always do stuff like this. Raven knows what's up. Let's go ahead and flip it. Okay. 10. Also a 10. This time of hearts. In all your interactions with mortals, when was the first time one looked upon you with horror and called you a monster? Did you believe it then? Do you believe it now? Interesting. I think there was the first time humans landed on this planet. It was an exploratory ship because they thought it was a fully inert planet. And so they didn't send any defenses whatsoever. And out of curiosity and hunger, an oxygen sensor was eaten. And I think someone saw or heard that as it was happening. And we got this radio broadcast of, there's a hostile monster creature trying to kill us. It's a nasty, evil thing, And the other side of it is, I think I'm starting to get the idea that if I can broadcast, I can probably receive. So anytime that there is a sticking around after those oxygen sensors get eaten, the fear and horror and anger sort of overwhelms the singular Terranaut. And it actually it harms it even. So we get this sort of flashback to this very first ship that landed. And it's like the vessel, the United Spacefaring Vessel Hope or something, right? Like it's got some sort of a really ambiguous, upbeat name. And then we see like a creature sort of slowly moving towards it, right? Like when not digging, these beings are very slow. So it moves slow and slowly sort of climbs on the outside of the ship before burrowing in. And I think it ruptures one room accidentally, headed towards the oxygen sensor. And the ship starts to shut down, right? It starts to airlock things. And you start to hear radio broadcasts of panic and fear and all of these people's sort of last moments, which we're not going to quite touch on here as much. Then as it is slowly moving away, the like adventuring, like the excursion party comes back, seeing their people sort of airlocked in, fully solidly in, unable to get to them, and also hearing the calls of like our life support is down, and they open fire upon this Terranaut that is sort of unbeknownst, like does not realize, moving slowly away. And it is confused more than anything. I think, right? Like, its eyes. I don't know that it has eyes. I think it has this, right, antenna type creature. So it's kind of interesting, the seeing the horror. But I think it feels the revulsion, the fear, like all the negative that is put out into the air by these people. And you know, it is confused and sort of alarmed by this, and tries to respond with a soothing push of something, and instead gets shot at. And I think that is its first taste of like pain at the hands of people, directly at least. So, do I believe? Do I as a Terranaut? Do we as Terranauts believe ourselves to be monsters? We do not. This is our home. This is our place. And it doesn't make sense that other people would come here and try to, not, they survive differently. It doesn't make any sense. Right? So, I think that was an interesting sort of flashback. Yeah, that moved us back to even. But I think, given that yours was sort of a mixed success, as it were, I'm going to also turn mine into a mixed success and say that I think there is movement back towards that old nest. So, it is a bit of it starts to dig, because that is its fastest way of getting away. The ground is safety. And we can also time skip in between these if we would like, by the way. So it doesn't have to be one long scene. We can keep going one long scene. I just don't know what your I love that, and I'm trying to wrestle with the fact that earlier I said it filled it in as it went. Okay. Okay, because I was like, that's kind of cool. I like that idea. I did not. I was leaning towards being non-destructive, so I was like, oh, they fill it back in. Yeah. Yeah. I'm hearing Raven is muted. Let me turn you up because I am seeing levels here. Okay, I think. Let's see if that fixes it.
All right, let's do a quick sound check for me then. There we go.
There we go. Okay, so apparently it's fine. All right.
Everything I've said to this point.
Yep. So
A quick summary of my character and the actions I have taken is I'm playing a badass femme fatale mercenary who gets hired to come out to these planets and eliminate essentially these creatures. She's got a cool auto rifle. I explained that it has multi-fire rate functionality to increase its damage, and it's got a massive magazine capacity. I won the first double die thing, and I drew the 10 of spades, which meant that the situation didn't go the way I was expecting. So that's when Tony popped out of the ground directly beneath me, and I shot down directly at it. Then we got a reversal where Tony got some of that thinking back on the history of the creatures and their interactions with humanity, and is now running away towards home, and I'm chasing it above ground.
yes. So we're probably gonna in the recording we're probably gonna clip all the way to just about that, seeing as we can't really hear a lot of this. We also have built this kind of interesting world where right, you're being Kara, she her, I believe she her, right? You said
Yeah.
okay. Has like a auto pistol or a sub tiny pistol machine gun thing.
It is a compact auto rifle.
That's what it was. I didn't quite have the right tiny adjectives to describe the right levels. Because sub and compact both mean small. So it's a small rifle.
But it was pistol that was the issue.
Yeah, it was. But oh well. Pistol is just a small rifle, so it's a small rifle.
Oh.
Anyway, all right. So, this morning has been full of technical difficulties. So anyway, but we're gonna just keep going today. We're just gonna keep going, and rock with it. So, I think as this goes, I think we are very easily, like the dig is being followed. Do we want a time skip here?
I think yeah, that'd be good. Because at this point, she's going to follow it back. She doesn't want to engage early, especially since she has no way of getting down to it easily.
Since you're sort of driving the hunt here, I think we're still in this early phase of like you seeking out these Terranauts.
Mm.
What is your next set of steps? Like what is your next plan?
Yeah, so once we get to the hive location, which in my mind, feel free to fill in or correct, I'm imagining you've seen like a pit mine where it's this semi-conical, like sunken in structure, but also kind of mixed with like a pueblo structure where they're like carved into the side of it, and you can see this sort of this honeycomb or cave-like structure going through the whole thing.
Interesting. I like the side of the cliff style, and because I think it allows us to do something a little bit different, right? Just a pit in the ground could be almost anywhere. Going into a ravine where the sides of the earth around you, the sides of the ground around you, are caverns and pockets and lived-in spaces for Terranauts or Terranaut individuals is really interesting to me.
And I think on arriving, she'd have had more of the like seismic sensors, so she would have circled the whole place and planted them so she get a better idea as to like how big this hive is and potentially even what the structure is based off of movement patterns if there are enough.
Yeah, the noise floor on this is much higher than it was other places.
Mm.
So there is a base layer of movement and vibration in the ground that is much higher. So let's go ahead and start rolling. Let's see what happens here. Ready? 3, 2. Oh, you've already started.
Oh.
It's fine.
Did
Oh,
you?
I was like, "Are you ready?" And I saw the roll go, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, I rolled that one and I didn't get it. I rolled a second time and did get it, but I waited until I heard you roll a second time because I wanted to at least be fair there.
you're good. You're good."
Pair twos. So let's.
Pair of twos. All right.
All right. Oh, I've got another spade, and this one's an 8.
Okay, you let your guard down for the briefest of moments, and that was enough for the monster to land an attack. How do you regain control of the situation and send the monster running?
Yes, so I think building off what you were just pointing out, there's going to be a much higher noise floor. The sensors that I'm placing around would take a moment to like manually calibrate. Otherwise, it is just a cacophony of sound. But because I've got multiple sensors going all the way around, as I zero them in, I can get them to focus on individual sound signatures to then target the individual creatures and be able to give me a really like clear idea. That does mean though that while I'm in that process, fully blind, it's basically looking at static.
Okay. So how? So you are set up around this ravine. You are not in the ravine, correct?
Correct at this point, yeah. And so in that moment of static, most hive creatures do have some sort of like guardian class, or there are things whose role is to patrol the perimeter and make sure that predators or whatever don't come in.
Yeah.
So I think one of those would have snuck up on me, in as much as they can. And it's enough for it to land an attack. So yeah, I get fucking clobbered for a moment.
Okay.
And the same sort of thing of like she turns and fires. That is always step one: shoot first, ask questions later.
Let me change some of the.
Send it running.
Um.
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I would say the attack here, the smaller form of the Terranaut is less seen, but these are a creature with not a ton of predators, right? They're like an apex predator in a non-predator world, almost, which is kind of something we don't. It's a little hard to understand, and so I don't think Guardian class is the right thing. But I do think that there are faster, agile, more dangerous ones than the sort of like nomadics or scouts even. I think scouts might be the right way of thinking about it. Where above ground scouts. There are above ground scouts, and these are built to move a lot faster. Like the stubby little mole legs have elongated.
I have to tell you, the image I've had in my mind are these like car-sized tardigrades.
Interesting. That's not
with
far
a really
off.
thick outer shell. So this fast one like galloping up is horrifying.
Yeah, that's not far off. Add like a rocky, maybe not geogemy, but like a like crystalline gray, right? Rocky structure on the back, almost almost like hedgehoggy, slightly spiky, right? Like I think of it like roly-poly mixed with hedgehog or armadillo mixed with hedgehog, a little bit, where it's the plates are like jabby. So, yeah, I think there is there are these, and these also have. I'm trying to decide if it's like a mandible or a horn or what it is. They've got some sort of tool that is going to be used for aggression here. Actually, yeah, okay. Yeah, so these are going to have something that is I think, a mixture between a rhinoceros horn and a Goliath beetle, where it is a horn that is like pronged out with forks, and they can use leverage to lift and carry things, and also to like. There's other things that they can do with it, obviously, but I think they come. There is a charge. There is a full momentum charge and a flip that happens. If you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, this attack lands. How do you regain control of the situation and send the Terranaut running?
Yeah. So I think in that like immediately like turn and spray, that horn, it's going to be coated and like have these sort of organic plates of metal, kind of like the snail I mentioned earlier that nobody heard about. um, so like that would give it the sort of like hard digging and tearing that they need to get into the ships, but would also make it structurally strong enough to carry the heavy loads that it's bringing back to the hive. So I think that would be the first thing to avoid. Is that's going to gore me and end it if that connects. So I'm going to like jump to the side and start firing. And specifically in this instance, I'm aiming for the antenna, because it seems to be the only sensory organ that it has.
So okay, so I do feel like I need to clarify that the only like actual protrusion here would be the horn.
Okay.
When I said antenna,
There's
I
not
meant
like
just receiving, right? Like I didn't mean like there's a thing sticking out of it or like.
Well, yeah, I wasn't necessarily thinking like antenna, but I figured there was some sort of structure.
There could be. Actually, what if we merge the two? If it's a long-range scout, it would need a longer antenna, and so this lifting and carrying thing would also need to be up in the air anyway. What if it's both?
Ooh, I do like that. Yeah, in that case, that's exactly what I'm aiming for. Two-prong. I'm aiming to potentially blind it or at least impair its senses, and also to damage the thing that it can use most readily to injure me. So yeah, I'm firing directly into that and chipping away at it.
And I move the target towards you, by the way,
Yep.
or the token. So okay, yeah, and I think this hive mind starts to see red, and you feel the ground start to shake, because I don't think that it is. You are near this place of home. So it is backed into a corner mode.
Yeah.
And I think more creatures are being sent, more Terranauts are being sent your way. So I think the ground starts to shake more and more, and your like seismic readings start to go off the frickin' charts.
Dope. As that's happening, I reveal the secret alternate mode that I didn't tell you about. The seismic sensors are also all EM, like they are transmitters, so they can be set rather to send the signals you'd expect to find if you were looking for like very dense ore deposits.
Okay.
So the intention there is that they can muck up their ability to see things with any fine detail, because to these things, it can look like there's just a 3-foot wall of iron ore circling their whole thing.
Yeah. Which is very, very fun. Very, very interesting. So I think here in that, like, we've got this sort of two clashing sides moving at each other here. I think it's an interesting time to roll a chase here, right? Ready?
Yep.
3, 2,
Yep.
1.
3, 5, 3, 4.
I keep getting 6.
I'm getting more rolls than you because the tower. 1, 6.
Oh, I know.
4, 2.
Ah.
4, 1. 5, 3. 3, 5. Changing dice. 6, 5. 1, 6.
1, 1.
God damn it!
You got in so many more rolls, but I still won it. Did you move it back towards me?
I just did, yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, I didn't think I was ahead. I'm not. All right. It is the 6 of hearts.
Okay. A new number.
A new number, but not a new tag here, or not a new type here. Weary. You contemplate that if you were to kill this hunter, would it truly be worth it? What do you stand to lose should you succeed? I think hive minds are beings that take a lot of energy, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you think about it, like, I do a mental work job, right? Like, my job is not a lot of physical labor. And at the end of the day, I am weary. What am I weary from? Thinking, planning, trying to be creative, those things, right? Mental energy takes a lot of effort. You could layer those, I guess, if you'd like.
Well, that way I can see all the cards that have been played.
Yeah. We'll see. But anyway, so I think it's at.
I'll have you know, at this point, I'm only 3 wins away from winning.
Ooh, wow! You must be good at this. Don't worry, it can turn really fast. So I think there's a little bit of weariness, physicality, like weariness of this hive mind. And the question starts to become like, this is not the first time that they have fought a human. And if you kill this human, they just send another, right? So what's the point a little bit? Why do we do it? Why? There is a level of this of like, you have heard, I have heard, we have heard from other groups that the more you kill, the more they send. What would it truly be worth it? I don't know. What do I stand?
When
to
I will
lose
say,
should I succeed?
a lot of the ones that you've heard from cautioning, to try and avoid aggression, would have either been survivors, likely of worlds that have like seen extreme extermination or whatever. That though they can't tell the individual differences, what they can tell is that the pattern of aggression is always the more we fight, the more humans show up, and then there's a turning point where it goes from there's a lot of humans hunting us until just one human comes, but entire nests get wiped out. They don't have the comprehension that it is the same one or a specific one, but that when only one attacks, that's when it's the most dangerous.
So, this is in fact the most dangerous. Um, so, what do I stand to lose should I succeed?
Mm.
I think there is a value for these Terranauts in being passive, in being like the planets that they live on. The planet, when you try to eat something or right, like, it wants to outcompete. It doesn't want to fight directly,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes a volcano explodes and it wipes out a hive for one reason or another, or a disaster of some sort strikes. But you don't fight back against the planet for it. Um, what do I stand to lose should I succeed? I think there is also a loss of sense of peace. I think there's a deep knowledge that if we keep fighting, that there is the possibility that at some point, like, this fight is given up on by the beings that keep invading. But that hasn't happened to anyone yet. That hasn't happened to any of my hive-minded siblings. As one by one they have fallen, and but also the fear of losing myself is greater than the fear of what if there is no loss. And so I do think that I think that this push, one, like, Kara knows, if I can speak for her, Kara knows that a stampede of these creatures is not something that one takes on straightforwardly. And so I think she has to retreat in this moment.
Yeah.
But they do not pursue her past a certain point. Right? There is a pursuit to a radius. We don't have to put a number on it. It's longer than you would expect.
Right.
But it's not all the way back to your ship. And I think that there is a strong chance that the Terranauts give up after that point. Not give up, but like lessen and let Kara run. So yeah, I think this is probably a time for regrouping, and maybe a different tactic from Kara. So what do we think our next encounter between these two beings is? Because it could be another hunt from Kara. It could be another terraforming station gets destroyed. It could be something else entirely.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think she probably would regroup back with that closer terraforming station, and sort of check in, confirm that there is a hive, the approximate size. Although she wasn't able to get the data that she needed to like give them an exact number, but you can estimate scale based off of noise. So she'd be relaying that information, and her immediate recommendation would probably just be to move the station. Like, not in the sense of, okay, we've lost, we need to give up, but in the, okay, this is in a hot zone, and I can continue to do my job, but you're going to die if you stay here.
Yeah.
So I think like that's her priority. She's doing that. Uh, would
Okay. I think
would the process of moving a station be an attractive thing that might draw any in?
yes, but not in an aggressive way.
Mhm.
So I think now that Kara has sort of seen them up close, she can start to pick them out a little bit better. Right? Not many people.
That's unfortunate. I seem to have frozen.
Oh, you haven't for me. So hopefully.
Good. Well,
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. Cool. You were good for me for the entire time. I think that passively, there is like a small herd of them that sits up on a ridge to watch the moving.
Okay.
And so you get this sort of like wary eyes. But once again, they look, they are battened down to look like rock croppings in certain spaces. So most folks don't know that they are there. Which is, I think, kind of the insidious part a little bit of like some of the stories do say they come out of nowhere, right? They come out of nothing. So yeah, I feel like this is part of the chase itself, right? You ready to roll?
Absolutely.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Oh.
3, 4, 5.
I had a dice
3,
stuck in my
1.
dice tower.
Oh, 2, 5. 1,
Threes.
4. God.
Sucker. All right, let's go ahead and draw me another one. Oh, don't take the whole pile.
Take all of them.
5 of diamonds. Let's see what else we got here. Diamonds. Perfect. It's like they knew what we were trying to do. From a hidden spot, you observe the hunter undetected. As you watch them move about the place, you learn things from watching. What do you learn? Will you do anything with this information?
So good.
That's tailor-made to this moment.
Yeah.
So I guess that I am undetected then. So I think we learn several things, right? We learn that like these terraforming stations are not solid, right? Like rocks don't move themselves, but they're being picked up and moved around, and the bases themselves are also not as solid as they could be. This is also, I think, the first time we have really seen spacefaring vehicles lift off and move. So rocket propulsion is mind-blowing. And the ferocity of sound in movement, right? Like, I don't know if your people are using hovercraft at this point or what.
I mean, whatever technology they use, it would absolutely be, especially noisy for creatures who sense the world in this way.
Okay.
Just the amount of moving and spinning and like
Yeah.
forceful metal.
So
If I'm a thing that sees metal, just a car engine would be dizzying.
yeah. And so we observe the hunter undetected. As you watch them move about the place, you learn things from watching. What do you learn? Will you do anything with this information? I think we will. I think this tells us that the oncoming force that has yet to be really like warded off by any of our fellows can be caused fear and can be pushed away. There is a chance. There is a possibility. There is a future that exists with us living in peace with ourselves. And so I think this is a moment of hope for our Terranaut. There is not an attack that's going to happen here because, like, the Terranauts are getting what they want here. Like, it doesn't make sense to attack here. So I think from here we can just roll again. Like, it doesn't feel like there's another moment to, like... So, ready? 3, 2, you're already going, aren't you?
I stopped.
2, 1. Alright.
Oh, no, fuck, that's a 1.
Is that
6,
3?
Double? Okay. I didn't have it.
Yep.
I thought I had double 4s, but one of them was a 1. 6, 1. 4, 5. 4, 6.
I'm getting numbers that are 1 off from each other.
Choose! Got it! Fucking finally. I'm not losing 3 of these in a row.
Dang it. I was so close. Okay, what do you got?
Ooh, interesting. Let me go up here to this. For my Queen of Spades.
Queen of Spades.
It's now the highest card drawn and a new suit.
While tracking the monster, you catch it in a moment of weakness and vulnerability. Does this change how you feel about the monster? Why or why not? How do you proceed?
I think, again, this kind of fits the situation really well of, like, the monsters probably to a degree tracked me back, and then we're staying back and observing that whole thing. And then in that moment of extreme, overwhelming noise and sensation, Kara would have departed, knowing they're probably around. And also would have, like, gotten the drop on and gotten around these things, and would have seen them. I'm expecting that, like, it would be a degree of sensory overload. And so in this state of absolute inability to continue as normal would probably be something that would, like, make her step back for a second.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think it changes how she feels. She's got a really strong conviction against these things. She is a person who has been personally, like, has lost family members to the things that these have done, which is why she does what she does. So I don't think she has it in herself to view them empathetically enough to, like, stop. But this is certainly seeing them in a different light that she's never seen before.
Interesting. So in another form, or in another light that she's never seen them before, is kind of an interesting statement. So I think one of the interesting things here is when they get overwhelmed, they actually will roll over, exposing, like, their gooey, like, snail tardigrade-y, like, bellies. And it actually is an extreme moment of weakness. So I think I wanna add that token as well.
Yeah.
And you finally get to see a mouth and, like, some of the other, like, parts of this, because not many parts of this are exposed to the outside. And I think it has a really, like, not quite a beak, but, like, a mixture between a jaw and a beak, right? It is made for crushing. And it has sort of an extendable, like, movable jaw, much like the goblin shark would. so that it can move to the ground and retract and crush. So, yeah. Shall we keep rolling?
Yes.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Got it in 1. 4 and 4.
Fuck! All right.
5 of hearts.
Interesting. You can't help but notice this hunter has some curious habits that mirror your own. What do you and this hunter share in common?
Ooh. I think, I think there is a, like, I could be as simple as like Kara collects rocks, right? Like, if there are shiny, pretty rocks, she sticks them in her pocket type thing. That could be an easy answer here.
Absolutely.
But
And though they wouldn't understand intent, probably a lot of it is a sort of like souvenir taking. Of like, these are the planets that I've been to. These are locations where I've hunted.
I would like to do something with more emotional resonance, though. I think
It would probably be rooted in the family members lost.
No.
Okay.
I've got. Let me. I think Kara does a radio call back to her family. In much the same way that these hive minds communicate with their siblings on other planets, Kara is communicating with her family through frequencies. And they listen in to, I think, this conversation about Kara and checking in with her family. Who would be the close family that Kara would call?
I think it would probably just be her dad.
Her dad. Do we have a name for Kara's dad?
Let's go Hector.
Hector. And do you have a personality or a vibe for Hector?
I honestly, I think just like the sort of like generic warm father figure, caring sort of individual, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, there is a message back to their family, I think it's repeated observation, because one of the interesting things I think about the Terranauts is these broadcasts happen every day at the same time, because the planets in this solar system all sort of line up on cycles at certain times. And so it's when the planets are closest that these messages happen, which they just happen to line up at like 2 p.m. or something, right? Like, I don't know. We can pick X time, right? But whereas Kara calls her family at 9 p.m. every evening, right? It is also the habitualness of it that I think is really interesting here. I think in part of this, the signal goes a bit fuzzy for Kara one night. You get this sort of mental picture and frequency of family. Before the signal restores. Let's see, we didn't move that token my way, did we?
Nope.
That's what I thought. I was like, it should be back my direction.
All right. So how does that affect you?
Affect me?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, with that observation and that sense of familiarity in this thing
so,
that is
so I think
absolutely
it actually
threatening them.
causes them to reach out and touch Kara's mind and the signal
Mm.
through this family thing. I think there is a curiosity to them, to the Terranauts, and a kind of understanding that happens here. Um, and anything else will sort of be determined by Kara and whether she keeps going or not, or what in that process.
Yeah.
But I think that drive to reach it, like much like, when my friends are having a hard time, I feel a push to reach out to them and say, hey, are you okay? um, there is some of that emotional resonance and feeling of like, hey, you know, family, um, that happens here.
Okay.
So
In that case, I'm not sure how Kara would react, so I'd like to just send it to the dice.
that's fine. Ready? 3, 2,
Yeah.
1. Oh, for a second
So
there.
close. 6, 3, 4, 4.
Ah,
We're just gonna keep balancing off this center.
this game has to end at some point, Raven.
Okay.
Keep going.
I have an interesting one here.
Ooh.
Ace of clubs. In silence, you spend hours setting an elaborate trap to ensnare the monster once it passes through this area again. How did you construct it, and what have you done to ensure that it cannot escape?
Oh. Okay.
So this is great because it goes from like the monsters being like, "Oh, this thing is like, it, it's a thing, and it's like us, and it has family and love and compassion. And we can tap into that. Let's reach out." And Kara's like, "I'm gonna fucking get him."
Yup.
Which is exactly what we talked about, like setting out to recreate here of showing the humanity of the monster versus the monstrosity of humanity.
What's funny is I'd
So
forgotten about that conversation. We just sort of naturally did that, which is kind of cool.
I think in that vein, she'd have gotten like that sensation, and she's dealt with these enough to know that whenever she gets like these waves of like feeling and stuff, it's not hers. So it's an intrusion, and these things are trying to manipulate her, and they're trying to take her over, and it angers her. And so it fuels this drive, and she now knows that, like, she knew where they were, because she had gotten around them, and then that this interaction has happened. So she's now setting up a way to. I think what she's done, because she now knows where they are and where they're coming from, so where they're likely to go back, and has enough information to have like figured out their probable path. What she's done is using ROVs from her ship has placed concrete barriers at their normal like surface to their normal digging level depth in a sort of ring like horseshoe type thing where there's only one opening and it's the direction they're coming from. It's meant to be inert enough with the terrain that they wouldn't suspect that there's something that they're not going to be able to break through with their normal digging. It's not impenetrable, but it is, oh, okay, I've hit something. What is this? And like try and find your way out. It cannot be metallic though, because that would light up for them. So that's what I'm thinking. Like it's a thick concrete that's just been like shoved down. And she's going to position
pitch something
herself.
else
Yeah,
slightly?
sure.
It is a plastic. It is a polymer.
Ooh, I do like that. Yes.
Because concrete to me is no harder than rock.
Mm-hmm.
but plastics rebound and resist scraping and digging in a way that is not rock.
Yes, no, I do like that. But it would still have that design of like this is the way it should appear to them.
Yeah.
And then it could also be a lot thinner than the concrete, so you could imagine a thing just like slotting it into the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's done that, and now she's like, again, having taken some refuge where she can watch the entrance of this thing for any sort of perturbations, but without being inside of it.
Yeah. Okay. It's very, very interesting. And so the idea is that the creature cannot escape, right?
Yeah, and so the same ROV that like planted the semicircle, it's waiting with the last one to close it. So once there is that impact of, okay, there's something in the trap, it closes. And then she can go in, and her plan at that point is probably just to drill explosives down.
Yeah. So inevitably you will catch a. Are you looking for one Terranaut individual?
How closely do they travel together?
That depends
Because if
on
they
where
tend to like
and how.
share a tunnel or like move really tightly, then it would be, yeah, let's grab a few. If they tend to be really spread out, then it would be whichever one you can get.
I think in the same way that like bees are not usually flying together, the Terranauts are not flying, are not digging together.
Then yeah, it would be whatever individual
Okay.
falls
But
in.
I wasn't sure if you placed this in a spot that, like, if your goal was to get a lot of them or your goal was to just get one or two.
Wait, if it's too big, then these plastic sheets end up having to be like 70 feet tall and have like a curved structure so it bowls at the bottom. I'm thinking it's just a ring that goes straight down.
Okay.
So if it's too big, then any of the loose ones can just go under or over to get around it.
Okay.
It is a quick corral to just stop one long enough to take it out.
Okay. Yeah, I think inevitably, right? Like, you probably place something that it would like in the center of that. And one is going to find its way there. Sounds like a good time for some rolls.
Yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
2, 3. 2, 3.
Threes. Got it.
3, 6. I got 3 threes back to back.
Well, I got 2 threes together, which beats your 3 threes. At the rate we're going, this will just be back and forth forever.
I don't want to lose, but I do need you to win at least one more, so that way we're fighting in a direction instead of off center.
Yeah. Let's see. 8 diamonds. Okay. You haven't always lived here alone. Once you shared this place with another, you are taken aback to realize something about the hunter reminds you of them. What is it? Will the recognition of this similarity change your approach to this hunt? Oh, yes. Okay. So, long ago, there were 2 hive minds of Terranauts on this planet. And the sister hive and this hive competed a little bit, but didn't heavily compete. And then one day there were some small slights, and it grew into a big fight over the planet, right? And as each hive grew, it needed more resources as well. So it's both a resource need and also a bit of like well, you can't do that. No, get back here. Like, don't cross this line, right? There was a little bit of sibling spat that turned into aggression. And I think the Terranauts who are currently here eliminated the other Terranauts. I think that they I'm not 100% sure how, but I think that actually I do know how. I think that deep within this planet, there is volcanic activity. And I think one of the Terranaut individuals dug down and created a hole from the magma down below all the way up to the nest of the other base and actually created a volcanic spout, burning the other Terranauts alive.
Which I will say, structurally, the only way that could work is if it started actually at the nest
Yes.
and like dug down, which means it's the first one to die.
Yes.
It did this
It is a
knowing it
kamikaze
wasn't
mission.
coming back.
But it's a hive mind. The individual doesn't matter, right?
Right.
But there is a sadness in these this Terranaut hive, and also part of its reluctance to go to fighting in this. But let's see, what was the full question here? The hunter reminds me of them. What is it? Will the recognition of this similarity change your approach to the hunt? I think that there's some of that family communication and the squabbling within that reminds me of this. It also is a thing that, like, when I'm trying to think of other ways. I think the stubbornness coming through, the single-mindedness coming through, remind me of this sister hive. But also, it has been such a long time since there has been interaction with another in any substantial way that this sort of cat and mouse game that they've been playing sort of reminds this hive of that back and forth. So it's kind of interesting. Sorry, I had a thought for what the Terranaut hive could be called, but it is something from another series, so I'm not going to call it that. But yeah. Yeah, so I think there's that back and forth that really does remind them of their sibling that they eliminated from this planet, and the recognition of this similarity might change the way that they approach this hunt. I think that they don't want to get rid of this. I think they enjoy the stimulation of someone else being here and the socialization of it.
Yeah.
I think they are tentative to kill off Kara and her people. So I think you are absolutely able to destroy one of these Terranauts without any sort of, reprisal because of it. So, that is my thought. What do you think? Should we roll some more?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Sixes. Got it.
Joe.
Ha ha! It's coming my way. We are so close to the Terranauts getting what they deserve. which is their planet back. I don't know why it rotated like that, but there we go. 6 of diamonds. So this is the hunter has backed you into a corner, weapon drawn. In this moment of desperation, you discover you have an ability you never knew you had. What is it, and how does it manifest? Oh, I like this. I like this a lot. So, what has happened is slowly but surely this methodical approach of killing off a Terranaut here or there has grown. And slowly but surely, I think Kara has placed a much larger version of this, thinking that they might be able to employ this around the hive. I think there is basically you are getting ready to lower the explosive in to destroy the hive that has been trapped in this plastic like tube.
Yeah.
So, in this moment of desperation, you discover an ability you never knew you had. What is it, and how does it manifest? I think, there are. I have sort of 2 pitches for this. The first is like an extension of a previous power, right?
Okay.
Where like full mind palace communication, right? The second is actually harnessing ores and alloys in minute forms, which could actually result in Kara's loss of agency. So I want to sort of touch base with you in this moment. Did either of those sound more interesting for you, or were either of those a no immediately? Like, especially with loss of agency.
No, so
okay.
I'm happy to, yeah.
So did either of those seem more interesting or less for you?
I think that loss of agency one sounds really cool.
Okay. So what I think is much like, we always think of like iron is present in the blood, right? There are minerals and like bits of metals and things like that present in the human body, period, right? Like you need magnesium, for electrolytes, right? Like you need all of these potassium, right? Like, and now I'm just stuck on electrolytes, but whatever, right? All of these things are actually metals of some sort. And so I think there is a realization that there is some control over the alloys in Kara's body. And I think it comes together as a moment where they both speak into the mind of Kara and in desperation push out to her, freezing her hand in place from hitting the detonation button.
Mm-hmm.
Like these explosives are placed. She is ready to pull the trigger. And the Terranauts speak into her mind. Oh, wait. And I secondarily think that when they speak this time, it is in whatever language Kara uses.
Right.
home. Only home. And it's not the best of English, because the first time English speaker is never going to be the best of English, right?
Yeah.
But they have listened to radio broadcasts enough that I think they've started to understand a little bit. This is my only place to live. And cannot go away. Am always stuck here alone. Now together. Was together once. Together better than alone. Does Kara at any point Kara can respond?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep, So
I think her initial gut reaction is the same for each of these. Is just that, like, get the fuck out of my head. But this time it is absolutely different. Like, these aren't. You can still expect deception whenever it's words, but there's you have an easier time with believing something whenever you can actually comprehend it. So whereas before it was, oh, they're pushing emotions at me, they're trying to manipulate me. There's now a moment of they're trying to communicate with me.
Yeah.
I don't know the intention, and I still don't think I can trust it, but this is inarguably communication.
Gotcha.
So I think there is, and also adding to that rage the moment of, I can't move, they're doing something. So, like, there's those two hits of, like, but then this sort of realization of, like, there's actual sentience and thought to what's happening. And it's reaching out to me. So I think that does make Kara pause. And like, think about this situation. Also, just the cards are playing so well for this.
Right.
That six of diamonds, we could have planned it. We didn't. You shuffled yours on camera.
I did. And you shuffled them both several times before we went live.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting. I think maybe this is another time for a roll.
Absolutely.
Okay. Ready? 3,
Yep.
2, 1.
I just thought of a really interesting way to cheat with this.
Yeah.
They use smaller dice. If you grab D4s instead, you have a higher chance of rolling doubles.
Yeah, it does specify D6s.
It does, which is why I said cheating.
Yeah. 2s. I got it. That puts
That
us
is
in the
it,
end game. That turned very quickly for you, didn't it?
It did.
Okay.
No, that's good though.
When the token has been moved off the tracker, either the hunter or the monster has caught their adversary and now has the power to end the hunt, and possibly their adversary's life. To determine how the story ends, the player who ends the game with the upper hand gains narrative control, effectively the sole storyteller of the final scene. The other player is encouraged to roleplay, ask questions to further the narrative, and offer input. but the final outcome is left in the hands of the winning player. Will your character kill their opponent, find common ground, or flee? Let the narrative journey that led them here inform this decision.
And this is the moment that we find out that these things are actually everything that Kara thought, and 50 of them are going to come digging out of the ground and just rip her limb from limb.
No, I want to hurt you more than that. I think that they find an additional power. Unknowingly. Not meaning to. But because they are parroting what they listen to, I think in Kara's mind, they speak in the words of her father. Saying, Kara has always been hardy and stubborn and those sorts of things, and her father was surprisingly, I think, a softening influence in that. And I think in the other night on a call, he said to her something to the effect of, sometimes the only way to survive is to be kind. And we have to work together to be kind. One cannot be kind by themselves. Who else is there to be kind to? And Kara, having sort of moved by herself for most of this life, like, did not register it until she is in touch with this hive mind. And she is, I think, invited to join. This is not a requirement for the ending, so this is something that I would like you to choose, whether or not Kara might be interested in joining the hive mind.
I think she probably would, because her motivation leading into this lifestyle was the loss of family, and now feeling this familial connection going into this, I almost feel like that would be an inescapable pull. Like, not that they meant it to be such, but
not for
this
too
is
good for
this
her
is
to
found
refuse.
right. This is a found family situation in so much more of a literal sense, because there's not the, oh, I've met these people and now I'm growing attached to them. These people, you are feeling the attachment that they have, and they are opening that up to you.
Yes.
I don't think she would stay here, but having that connection with them, I think, would ultimately change what her life was, from being this exterminator going around to these planets and wiping these things out, to now being more of an ambassador.
Yeah, that is not where I was headed with this, but I love that. I think there is some of the old Kara there, in that I don't think she's an ambassador. I think she's an ambassador the same way that that groups that, like, will tie themselves to trees or will destroy plants are protesters, right?
Yeah.
It is a form of protest. It is a very aggressive form of protest, and in many places
it is. In fact, I'm going to reference one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Mr. Right. The premise of that movie is Sam Rockwell is playing a guy who used to be a, like, 3-letter agency assassin.
Yeah.
He got injured and then took some brain damage, and it gave him a new perspective on life, and now he still has that reputation, but if somebody ever hires him to kill someone, he kills the person that hired him. And so I think in that way, she's still putting it out there like, oh, yeah,
Oh, I
I'm
like
still for
that.
hire. But she's going out, and once she gets there, she's like, this is how you can deal with the situation. This is how you can be peaceful with these people. And if it turns aggressive, she becomes the aggressor in defense of them.
So I think here's what happens: is I think she sets up a monitoring station or messes with the data to
Mm-hmm.
to cover the fact that
Mm-hmm.
that she has not killed the Terranauts here, but secondarily to discourage future people from trying to land here, right? If this place is inhospitable,
Mm-hmm.
unterraformable, not good for the mission, and you all should go home, that's a different thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think she modifies some of the scientific instruments to start putting out inhospitable bad results as well, so that the colonists leave. And yeah, I really like the idea of anytime there is a like, hey, we got to send some folks out to kill off this planet. There is an accident that happens. There is a
Mm-hmm.
problem that happens, and sometimes it's not like, I think there'd be a pattern if it was always just the person who
Yeah.
hired them. Sometimes it is the hunter or the bounty hunter, their drive fails in space, or
Mm-hmm.
there is something that always seems to be bad luck that happens, and it is really the sort of
Uh,
like angel.
I will say she still has like this mentality, so I don't think it would be all calls. I think it would exclusively be calls relating to planets that she knows are these creatures, are the Terrans.
Yeah. No, it this solar system is way too big for it to be all calls. Like,
Yeah.
you can't save everyone, but you can save some. And so I think she very very quickly starts becoming that sort of link between the stars, and also I think we end with this very very interesting scenario of her being gifted with a bundle of eggs from this hive, to spread to other Terranaut planets so that the families can be together again, but also one or two to keep her company as well. I think that's a kind of a cool thing of like being entrusted with
Yeah.
some of the future. Um, let's see. Um, I think that's everything. Um, how you doing?
That's
That
good.
that
That's good.
yeah. I
Yeah.
do think, yeah, when especially once we got rolling, I think that story took on a whole different perspective than what we started with, and it was really really cool.
It also fully matched with what we described.
Yeah, it um, the prompts did a great job of guiding us as well, but also like we were able to do some of that, which was really really cool. I didn't do a ton of it intentionally to be like, this wasn't somewhere where I was leading, but it is where the story led us.
Yeah.
And I really really like this. This is a very very fun game. I would play it again in a heartbeat. And you know,
Good, because that's what we're doing tonight. No.
my wife would be upset, because she has been on nights and it is finally her day off and we are spending time together. So the faster I get out of here, the more time I spend with her and the happier she is. So with that, we're going to reiterate some of the stuff we said at the beginning here. If you liked what you saw here, go check out our YouTube, our social medias, our Twitch. If you're not watching this on Twitch, go follow our link tree. Or go check out our link tree. Our Patreon is there for just $1. We've got some really, really cool stuff on the Patreon, including other shows that... Sorry, I'm watching Raven put up cards while I'm talking. Some really cool of the shows that are paywalled for just $1, right? We paywall them a little bit, but like not a lot. So, and some of them aren't even, like some of the other stuff we post on there isn't paywalled at all. So you can access it for free. But we did want to make it very, very accessible to folks. There are higher tier levels if you really like the stuff that we're doing, that you can absolutely go and give us some support. And there's, of course, merch for R that we love so much. So yeah, with that being said, this has been the One Shot Wonderarium. Thank you so much for coming and checking with us and sitting through all the technical difficulties and the insanity of today. Thank you for Raven for like literally getting like 45 minutes of prep time before we went live to learn the game, figure out what's going on, and join me.
And build the table.
And build the table in Tabletop Simulator. Yeah, Raven also built this table that we used in Tabletop Sim, and it was a lifesaver today because I didn't have to worry about it. And thank you to Dylan Appelian and Megan Cross for creating Hunter Hunted. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And thank you to the rest of the R4R crew for everything. So, with that being said, we're going to get out of here now. We love y'all, and don't forget, it's a wild, wide Wonderarium out there. Make sure you take a friend. Bye-bye.